This spring, when BSB began beaming down its 5 channels to anyone with a square to receive them, its arch-rival Rupert Murdoch's Sky TV had already been in operation for over a year. But the mudslinging between them had been going on for much longer. The two companies have never missed an opportunity to attack each other, everything from programming to integrity to technology, which made it all the more shocking when the announcement came out of the blue last Friday night that they were to merge. Everyone seems to have been wrong-footed by the news. Even the government minister in charge of broadcasting only found out when he read it in his morning paper. The early signs are that Mr. Murdoch seems to have got rather the better of the deal. The new company's official title, for instance, may be British Sky Broadcasting, but it will be trading under the name, yes, you guessed it, Sky TV. The talk today is of mass redundancies and investigations at the highest level about how all this could have come about. But here on The Late Show, we like to view any marriage as a cause for celebration. We invited Private Eye editor Ian Hislop to make the best man's speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to be asked to speak at a wedding, particularly one as expensive as this. With an outlay of £1.25 billion so far by the parent companies, it should be a good one. I'm afraid I don't know either of the parties very well, since I've never seen them. But then that puts me in the same position as most of the country. The announcement came as something of a surprise to everyone, and it does seem to have been a very brief courtship. Given that BSB is currently suing Sky for an advert that says BSB is dead in the water, one might have thought that the two loathed each other's guts. Sky's Director of Corporate Affairs did rather give this impression last year, when he said of BSB, "Who wants to get in a pissing contest with a skunk?" This robust remark was indicative of certain basic cultural differences that make this a rather unlikely match. One doesn't want to be snobbish, least of all at a wedding, but BSB did make great play of the fact that it was the British satellite company, and that Sky was, to be quite honest, foreign. A BSB executive said, "Sky continues to be a distinctly American-Australian service, making no concessions to a British audience. We want to emphasise that our roots are clearly in British broadcasting." This moved the Observer to note that BSB's marketing campaign lays stress on the non-parvenu conservative Englishness of its product. Sky, on the other hand, rather gave the game away when their movie controller, a Mr. Stuart Till, described his forthcoming attractions as blue-collar movies. How very true. And of course, Sky does come from an industrial estate in Isleworth, whereas BSB comes from a rather agreeable building in Battersea that features on the cover of the London Telephone Directory. Sky's managing director is obviously a bit sensitive about this and said, "BSB is obsessed with promoting itself as upmarket." John Gow of BSB hasn't denied this and said, "We welcome comparisons with the BBC." Given that Mr. Murdoch, Sky's father, loathes the BBC and attacks it whenever possible through the newspapers he owns, this does not bode too well. But one must not be gloomy at weddings. They're primarily occasions for telling embarrassing stories about the past lives of the participants. BSB's chief executive, Anthony Simmons-Gooding, said in September of this year, "We're entering a tremendously exciting 3 months. It will all come good." He also professed a tremendously sunny disposition, which he will need now that he's suddenly the ex-chief executive. He's the man who said, "Murdoch is looking down the barrel of a fully funded gun." The unintentional shotgun wedding analogy is rather apt, though it looks as ever as if Murdoch was holding the gun. Sorry, tacky subject for a happy occasion, so as it is a wedding, perhaps I should tell a dirty joke. I'd better repeat BSB's recent advertising campaign. BSB's got more balls. I think they were saying they had more sport than anyone else, rather than more abysmal programmes than anyone else, but if they meant they had more courage than anyone else, they've rather wasted the campaign. Saying, "We have the technology and we'll see Murdoch off," as one shareholder did, is not quite the same as jumping into bed with him when things start looking bad. Talking of which, I'm glad to see that BSB has agreed to change its name, and that Sky hasn't. Also that BSB has changed its technology, and Sky hasn't. So, no more adverts telling us it's smart to be square, because as it happened, it wasn't. Incidentally, Sky's first ad agency were fired when they came up with this slogan for the press launch: "Sky Television, revolting." A sense of humour is a great asset to a marriage, and I'm delighted to say that Mr. Murdoch has a great one, which he proved earlier when the marriage celebrations were interrupted. It was asked if anyone knew of any just cause or impediment to the merger. "Speak now or forever hold your peace." And instead of the usual silence, the IBA immediately shouted that the whole thing was illegal. Then the Labour Party joined in, saying that Murdoch was merely avoiding regulation and riding roughshod over the terms of BSB's franchise. It's a credit to Murdoch that he saw the funny side. It's a complete joke, he said. We're a total force for competition in this country. We're a defiance of monopoly in this country. Having just got rid of the competition and effectively become a monopoly in satellite television himself, I suppose he can afford to laugh. And so, a traditional toast to end on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the happy couple, BSB and Sky. I give you them because I'm still not sure anyone's going to buy them.